Hey everyone, happy Vlogmas. I think this is part 10. So I'm almost to my 12 days of Vlogmas. I'm doing pretty good. Today we're going to go through my STORYGRAPH stats. So right here you can see my little home page. You can see that I'm currently reading, or what I still have marked as currently reading. This is supposed to be a DNF. I need to mark that. You can see my read recently, my most recent TBR editions. It tells you that mainly my reads are nonfiction, reflective, informative, and emotional. That checks out. Typically choosing medium-paced books that are less than 300 pages. Guilty. I'm a short book girly, apparently. But if you wanna follow me on StoryGraph, loose in the library. We can be friends. But let's go into the stats. First, I'll show you all of the standard statistics, and then I'll go into all of my custom graphs and charts that I've made so far, which I'm very excited about. So let's get into it. We're just doing the whole of 2024, no specific month. Here are my goals for the year. My goal was originally 50 books, and I have surpassed that by 29 books, and the list keeps on growing. I'm still reading, so that's great and encouraging considering next year's goal is double that. Next year's goal is 100 books, so I'm well on my way, hoping for the same kind of progress next year. My 2024, why can't I say that? 2024 pages goal was 20,000 pages, which I just kind of picked a number and went with it. But I've exceeded that as well by 3,969 pages. Pretty good. And now let's get into the graphs, which is my favorite part. First, we see first that my average time to finish a book is 9 days, which I think is a fine amount of time. I don't know what y'all are doing, but 9 days sounds pretty good to me. That's just a little over a week. And then my moods, we've got reflective, we've got tense, hopeful, emotional, challenging, relaxing, mysterious, funny, informative, adventurous, dark, sad, lighthearted, and inspiring. It seems that my biggest categories are reflective with 37 books, emotional with 27, and mysterious with 26. Now, a lot of those mysterious books happen to be Nancy Drew books, so whether you count those or not, that's up to you. I count them, because I did read them. But they can be seen as irrelevant to the statistics, I don't know. And then we got pacing. I have a lot of medium-paced books, and to be honest with you, I don't really know how to classify books by pace. So I'm trusting this as is, but I've read 56 medium-paced books apparently. 16 books were fast-paced, and 7 were slow-paced. It makes sense that slow is at the bottom of this list, because usually if a book is very slow-paced, then I'm just gonna DNF it. I don't have the attention span for that, unfortunately. And then we've got page number, which I have a page number graph on my custom stats, which is going to be a little bit more detailed than this. But you can see that I do gravitate towards the shorter books. 38 books were between 300 and 499, and then 37 were under 300 pages. We got 4 books that are above 500 pages, so I bet those were all nonfiction too. And then this year is the first time in a while that I've had more fiction than nonfiction, I think. So we've got 52 fiction books and 27 nonfiction. I'm pretty happy with that. I feel good about that. I like this balance. Would like to see maybe a little bit more nonfiction. Maybe more like a 40%, 60% type of thing. So maybe we can work on that next year. And then this is fun. This is all the genres that I've read. Mostly we've got literary, which is coming in with 19 books. And then we've got mystery, 17, which again, a lot of those were Nancy Drew books. Contemporary and young adult are tied for 12. We've got politics, thriller, and horror tied for 10. LGBTQIA+ is at 9, along with romance, So we've got a lot of fun things here. At the very bottom, we've got business, which I don't even know what book that is. Let's click on it. Oh, The Art of Gathering. Yes. We've talked about this book already. Biography, music. What was music? The Woman in Me. Okay. Philosophy, religion, true crime, and speculative fiction. So we got a pretty wide range of genres here, which I love to see. Those are irrelevant. We'll get to those later. Format, I've done mostly print books, but that's by a very thin margin. I've also done a lot of audiobooks. So 44 versus 35. 14,358 pages, and then 229.67 hours. Pretty good. My most read authors, we got 7 Nancy Drew books in here. Shocker. Joanna Fluke, which is the Hannah Swenson series. Taylor Jenkins Reid. Stephen King. I'm always surprised to see Stephen King in my most read authors because I don't feel like I read him that much. But then again, there are not many authors that I read multiple books from in one single year. So I guess that checks out. All of my books were in English. Shocker, because that is the only language I speak. And then we've got my monthly stats. So each of these are showing the number of books I read in a month and the number of pages. So you can see that July was kind of a peak. So I was nearly at 4,000 pages in July. How many books? That looks like maybe like 12 in July, so that's pretty cool. It looks like my lowest months were September and October. I think those were both 4 books. Yeah, 4 books, 1,534 pages. So those were low productivity months when it came to reading, but I feel like I balanced it pretty well. I was pretty consistent throughout. During the summer, I read a whole lot more. Very cool. And then we've got my star ratings. My average rating was 4.24, which is very good. That's way above average. Next year, I would like to read a little bit more out of my comfort zone so that, not that I don't want to see a high average rating, but I know that the average rating is there because I pretty much only read books that I knew I would like. See here, you have 31 5-star books. 31 books that I thought were perfect. And then 4-star, very close second with 20 books. And then 3.5 stars, the next highest category with 8 books. And then you've got like 2.5 has 1, 3.75 has 1, you know. So I'd like to read a little bit more out of my comfort zone just so I can have some different ratings in there. So that'll be interesting to see. And now we're going to get into the custom stats, which I'm really excited about. So I have tagged all of my books that I've read with my source. So did I get them from the library? Did I own them from years before? Did I buy them that year, or did I borrow them from friends? You can see that most of my books came from the library this year, which I'm very pleased about. A lot of them were probably audiobooks. And then second highest category is books that I already owned prior to this year, which I'm also very pleased about. My author pronouns, lots of books by women, love to see it. 25 books by authors that use he, him pronouns. I would love to get some they, them pronouns in there. So if you have any recommendations, please put them in the comments, please. And then we've got audiobook duration. You can see that a lot of my audiobooks were between 3 and 6 hours long. That's 15 of them. Next highest category is 6 hours to 9 hours with 11, and then 9 hours to 12 hours with 6. So those are all of my audiobook times. Only one was longer. This cast was 14 hours and 26 minutes. So that was my longest audiobook of the year. Then we've got the more detailed page number. I love the way this looks. It's so fun to look at. So I had one book that was below 100 pages. My highest category was between 300 and 349 pages. I had 13 books in there. What was my biggest book was between 600 and 649 pages. Let's see what that book was. And yeah, it was a nonfiction. It was a biography about JFK, and I gave that 3.5 stars, which is pretty good for a biography in my opinion. And then we've got author race/ethnicity. Again, I really would like to diversify this. I have 55 books written by white authors. And then the next highest category is black authors with 10 books. And then that's unknown ethnicity. So not white, but I couldn't find any information that would tell me where they're from, what race they are, so I just marked them as unknown for now, and that's just 5 of them. We've got Indigenous in here, Latinx. One of my books was by an Israeli author. What was that? I think it was Sapiens. Yeah, it was Sapiens. So that was interesting to find out. What else do I have in here? Japanese, Palestinian, Bangladeshi, Indigenous, and Greek. So we've got a lot of different ones here, but most of my books that I read this year were by white authors. And then lastly, I have how I found this book. So most of them I found just while browsing through the library while I was there, or browsing through bookstores, and I just picked them up. Some of them, a lot of them, were books that I came across through online scrolling, like through STORYGRAPH recommendations and things like that. And then 13 of them were books that were recommended to me by friends. So, that's all of my STORYGRAPH stats for this year so far. December's not over, so all of these things will be changing. Just for fun, let's take a look at the December custom stats. And we can go into standard stats maybe, just for kicks and giggles. So here's December. 2 books were from the library, 2 were owned, and 1 is one that I purchased this year. 4 of them were she/her authors, 2 audiobooks, page number, pretty even split there. 1 Indigenous author, 1 Black author, and 3 white authors, mostly online recommendations. And then standard stats for December. Let's take a look at that as well. So I've read 5 books in December so far, which is great. That was my goal for December. And then for moods, shocker, reflective is my highest category, emotional, and then all of these have 1 in there. So those are all even after that. They were all medium-paced books. Most of them were between 300 and 499. Most of them are fiction, lots of literary, lots of print, and 2 5 stars. And here are all of my page stats. These are a little bit inaccurate, because I didn't mark my progress every single day that I read, but it's pretty close. So my highest reading day was the 14th with 366 pages. So that's pretty cool to see. But yeah, those are my STORYGRAPH stats for 2024 and also for the month of December. Let me know if you are also on STORYGRAPH. I always love to find more friends on there. I love STORYGRAPH so much. It's such a good time, and I love seeing how they are improving the app. Highly recommend checking it out if you haven't, especially since we're starting a new year pretty soon. And bonus, it's really, really easy to import your Goodreads data into the app so you don't have to individually add all of the books that you've read before. So just saying, it's really easy transition. I don't regret it. So that's going to be all for today. Happy Vlogmas. I will hopefully see you tomorrow.